Jay Goldberg is joining us from Seaport Global Securities. Jay, what's the story with Broadcom as far as you're concerned?
I think this is a case of the super intelligent AI God gives and then takes away. There's a lot of all these stocks are sort of wrapped up in the broader AI trade where there's not a lot of room for error. And I think if you look at Broadcom, just their numbers were really good. Quarter was good. Outlook was good. The problem is they weren't good enough. People were wanting more. There is fear about competition out there. I think all these fears are misplaced. I think Broadcom is probably one of the best run companies in semiconductors today. And I think there are people that are worried that they're losing share at Google, they're losing share in the market. I think the opposite is taking place. I think they're actually going to be a net share gain next year.
And there seems to be some concerns about, tell us more about the customer base, tell us more about, where your exposures are you over-reliant on that and so forth. You're not worried about that?
I'm much less worried about that than I am about what I'm seeing for a lot of the other players in this field. I think if you look at what was going on with NVIDIA, and sort of the basis of my sell rating on NVIDIA is just they're heavily reliant on the neoclouds and all of the financing complexities that you were just talking about earlier. That looks so much riskier to me than Broadcom, who's focused has a small number of customers, which is their typical model historically, and these are all super well capitalized companies like Google and Microsoft and hopefully Amazon. So their customer base is very different, and I think that leads to a much more viable, long-term, sustainable revenue stream.
But you're worried that NVIDIA's customers don't have deep enough pockets? I mean, Oracle may be kind of the one that sticks out, but a lot of the rest of these are some of the most well-capitalized companies in the world.
Some of them are, but if you look through the whole chain of neocloud and data center deals that are taking place right now, there are a lot of players in that mix. There's a heavy reliance on debt, and that's growing. There's a lot of debt offerings in the pipeline. That looks a lot more strained. That whole complex looks very strained to me. There's a lot of things that can fall apart in that, as opposed to Broadcom selling to Google or Broadcom selling to Microsoft. It's much more straightforward and sustainable.
I appreciate the point of view and the pushback on kind of these narratives today. So finally then, Jay, as people are looking into next year and seeing it sputtering out broadly a little bit of the tech trade here, and you see some who should do quite well, like a Broadcom, and understand why others like NVIDIA you might see face more of a challenge. But what do you think lies in store for the sector as a whole, or even to put it more broadly, for the AI trade as a whole?
Look, I'm a techno optimist. I think AI will be an important part of our lives, but any technology that is as big as AI could potentially be takes years to adopt, right? We've seen that with the internet. We saw that with the VCR. We saw that with PCs. Nothing goes in a straight line. And I think what will happen is probably next year, the bloom will come off the rose. The trade will fall apart. There'll be a lot of pain and suffering in some sectors. But then from those ashes will emerge the real AI applications and there'll be a whole new crop of interesting companies coming out of that.
Maybe the difference is that you see that happening next year, and most people think that could be 3 to 5 years more of upside before it falls apart.
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. It's hard to call. I think what sort of has made me much more cautious is this big surge of companies turning to debt. Right, there's a lot more risk. Debt is fantastic in the upcycle, but that just makes it much more painful in the down cycle, and so the risks are greater and sort of amplifies the pain.